We're back again, folks. This review was prompted by the Clay and Buck Show on our local AM syndicate 1360. They said that one of the greatest action thrillers of the 90s was The Fugitive. And I happen to have this particular DVD release on the shelf that was a 2001 Warner Brothers release. We're going to talk about differences in packaging and see if you could spot the differences. So this is my favorite style of DVD flip case. It's got the little latch. Looks Unfortunately, good, right? This was made within an era, even though this disc looks perfect.
It looks good, right?
It has disc rot, and it would only play till about scene 27, where Julianne Moore is meeting with the Tommy Lee Jones character in the hospital, and then it wouldn't play past that.
Terrible.
So enter the chat. 1996 DVD release. This would have been in the very earliest DVD releases. Can you spot the also difference? Look at this one. This one has a red border, and this one does not.
I see that.
And then the backs of the box look different. So huge shout out to Rasputin's World of Music on Sisk Road in Modesto, providing me this used copy for $3.95 of this early 90s DVD classic. This one has widescreen and full screen for the old 4:3 aspect ratio TV sets. We're going to be reviewing this movie straight away. I've got my notes here, and I just want to get into it. 1993, this movie was directed by Andrew Davis. It has a 2-hour and 10-minute runtime. This movie is based off of a real-life story. Written by Jeb Stewart and David Toohey for Screen. It is loosely based on the real-life trial and conviction of Dr. Samuel Shepard, who was convicted of, you know what, his pregnant wife in 1954.
No!
That is a very sad story unto itself.
How sad.
The guy went to prison for 10 years. He was a surgeon, and they feel like it was a media circus. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Through DNA evidence, years down the road, he was proven to be innocent, and he was released from prison after 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
Remarried, but his life had been ruined. He tried to go back to practicing medicine, and he killed 2 patients because he had lost touch with his medical background from being in prison for 10 years. And he died of alcoholism in his late 40s. So his life was basically ruined.
I'm just now finding out all of this. I didn't know this was based on a true story. I didn't know anything about that Samuel guy.
Yeah.
I'm hearing all this for the first time.
There is also a 1963 television series of the same name that was also inspired by the original story. The film had a $44 million budget, and it went on to gross a massive $368 million at the box office. It was the 3rd highest grossing film of the year 1993. Tommy Lee Jones, he would go on to win an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role as the U.S. Marshal in this movie.
He is really good in this. He does a good job.
Many men were considered to play the Harrison Ford character, and many people sought the role. John Voight, Gene Hackman were also considered for the role that would go to Tommy Lee Jones. Michael Douglas and Kevin Costner were considered for the Richard Kimball role. And Harrison Ford really wanted this part because he was never allowed to grow a beard for any of his cinematic roles. And in the early on, the Dr. Richard Kimball character was able to have a thick beard, and that's one of the reasons why he wanted to be in the film.
Wow.
That being said...
What a reason to want to be in a movie.
Oh, Nick Nolte was also considered for the Richard Kimball part.
Okay.
The scenes depicting rural Illinois were shot in North Carolina. The crash scene was a real-life freight train and bus, cost over $1 million, and the wreckage is still there today.
Oh my goodness.
The director did not want to film in Chicago and wanted to have stand-in locations because it was going to be too cold, according to him, for their shooting schedule. However, Harrison Ford really pushed that they actually film the city scenes in the Chicago backdrop for a nitty and gritty authenticity. And it was 21 degrees with a -6 wind chill effect when they filmed in March.
Oh my goodness.
They actually did the filming during the St. Patrick's Day actual parade. And they
cool.
said that the people that were actually marching in the parade were laughing and cracking up as they were filming the chase scene through the real St. Patrick's Day parade.
That's why we watched this movie, because it was St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. This
said,
movie, this is March 29th of 2026, and we watched it because of St. Patrick's Day too.
We watched it. Well, we watched half of it on St. Patrick's Day. Then it froze.
Yeah, so then we had to wait a couple of weeks until I was able to obtain a new copy. It's one of the few St. Patrick's Day movies. Okay, so that being said, the movie that was written for the screenplay was basically totally rewritten by Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford during production. Ford and Lee wouldn't like the dialogue of the scene, and they would basically rewrite the whole scene right on the spot before shooting it. So a lot of the scene is total ad-libbed. Oh, also, I always found this weird in the introductions. Julianne Moore gets top billing in the credits, and this is one of her earlier roles. And she has such a minute part in the film. That being said, she got top billing because if she originally had a much bigger role where she was going to be a love interest with the Harrison Ford character, and there was going to be a love scene. But they decided that was very inappropriate considering his wife and everything that happened. So the majority of her scenes were cut from the film. So that's basically the gist of it from what I have for my notes. And I've been going on and on here, and I want to let you talk about it. And you were on the edge of your seat.
I didn't make time to look up any statistics or facts or what all that stuff. He does all that.
You can just talk about how you tell the viewers how you feel about it. I just always talk about
what I think, and I know I saw this movie in the past, but I forget plots of movies, and I knew it was good. I just didn't remember what happened, and this movie is very suspenseful, and it's got some tearjerker moments, and it's got some really sweet moments between the Tommy Lee Jones guy and the Harrison Ford character,
and even the other fellow U.S. Marshals.
Yeah, I just like the banter back and forth between the two of them.
Lots
There's a classic line when the Tommy Lee Jones investigator guy is chasing Harrison Ford's character, and Harrison Ford yells, "I didn't kill my wife," and then Tommy Lee Jones yells back, "I don't care."
Iconic.
Because he was just like, I have to capture this escaped fugitive, and he didn't really care at the time, whether he committed, he probably figured that here's a guy who's on the run. Everybody always says they're innocent. So of course he's going to say, I didn't do it, and most likely he did do it, but he actually was innocent. So
spoiler alert.
Well, I mean, you knew it from the beginning of the movie, but it was good. It kept you on the edge of your seat. There were some jumpy moments, not real jump scare, but just suspenseful moments, and just some sweet moments between them. And I mean, it's sad someone died, at the beginning of the movie. So the movie's not for kids, obviously. But for someone like me who doesn't like gore or real torture or a lot of cursing, this is a really good movie because it's action packed. There's suspense, but it's not you're not hearing F-bombs every other word. In fact, I don't even think
this movie is rated PG-13, by the way.
I don't think there was one F-bomb in the whole movie, which goes to show they don't need that. You don't need to put all that in there to make a good movie. It's still really good.
The other underlying theme and a social commentary, as it were, which is very applicable and relevant today, is the evils of Big Pharma.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the whole... Okay. No spoilers.
But yeah, it's interesting that the same evils that were happening back then are happening now and on an even grander scale, you might say.
Yeah.
And especially during 2020. But I'm not going to say I'm not going to say too much. I said it, but I'm not going to say any more than that. Because you guys know.
You know.
You already know.
This movie has a 96% Rotten Tomato critic average. That being said... the audience score, and I didn't write down how many people, it was over 10,000, 89%, which is low. That's still pretty high, actually, but it's still
almost 90%. But this movie deserves everything. It's amazing. It's a 5 out of 5.
It's a 5 out of 5. It is a rare 5 out of 5. I grew up watching this movie all the time on TV and video rental. 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, but it truly is a classic. Like I mentioned earlier, third highest grossing film of 93. This movie, I feel like it would be really tough now in a modern era with like AI and like all the technology. Would he be able to escape and go back to the very city that he lived in and fly under the radar now? I
doubt
don't
it.
know.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, okay, real life application to that. I went to GameStop the other day with my son to see if we could get something replaced on a gaming system that wasn't working. The guy had me scan my fingerprint.
I don't like that.
I had to put my fingerprint
that Big Brother is
on
watching.
this little pad thing. And he said it was because of like theft or whatever. But I asked him, do you want to scan my eyeballs too?
You know why they do that?
Do you want to scan my retina?
They sell used gaming systems, and someone can steal a system.
Yeah, he said they're considered like a pawn shop, basically.
And
so I was like, okay, wow. But just weird, because when we were kids, we didn't do stuff like that. You ever remember scanning your? Well,
they would take your fingerprints on a piece of paper at a pawn shop back in the day, and they would take a photocopy of your license. All that being said,
surveillance.
90s classic. I don't know what other genre movies we could watch that fit this genre.
It was really good though.
Cool Hand Luke, I don't know. Or the Defiant ones, maybe, or maybe even Papillon would be a good pairing with this, because that's another prison escape. But this movie's kind of different because it's almost like an investigative movie as well, where he's trying to find out who killed his wife and prove that it was really a one-armed guy. And the Chicago PD just wanted to rush to a judgment and get that off the books.
That's so fascinating that this was based on a true story. I'm so sad that guy was in prison for 10 years.
And his life was ruined afterwards. So I think that's another commentary of this movie.
He's at peace now.
There's another commentary of this movie is the justice system. Is it always just, right? I don't know.
I know tough. He passed on, but I hope he's at peace.
That's why a lot of people don't believe in the death penalty, because of, people can be wrongly convicted. And I believe there's even an organization called the Innocence Project where they kind of find people that are in life in prison and they get them released based off of bad evidence or people getting railroaded by the particular justice system at the time. So
yeah, that's a good commentary about that stuff.
Corey and Nicole, rare 5 out of 5. Thanks for watching, folks.
Both of us.
I've been giving a lot of 4s and 5s lately. They're becoming not as elusive like a unicorn.
What can I say? I feel like we don't want to watch bad movies.
I feel like
Would you?
Okay, I do watch bad movies, but I feel like even sometimes, like my last review that I did, this movie had like a 17 or 25% Rotten Tomato average. It was better than that.
That's true. He did watch that.
So that's why I want to check out movies for myself. It's like, hey, whatever with the critics, right? But this movie truly is worthy of all the ratings that it gets. It is a true classic.
All right, and
until next,
you want to see something really good.
This doesn't have anything to do. We're already over 12 minutes here. Thanks for watching, folks. That doesn't end. It starts off good, and anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.